Good afternoon, people. Good afternoon. A couple things. Monday, the 29th of March. It's been an interesting day. So, yeah, I'm in the process of PCSing. And, of course, that's always an interesting process. I don't think a lot of people talk about the process associated with PCSing, permanent change of station for those who are not inclined. But yeah, I want to do Ask Me Anything. If you have any questions concerning the PCS process or anything Air Force related, anything that you have on your mind, let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. Don't plan on being here all night. I know it's late on the East Coast. It's like 9 p.m. there. It's only 5 p.m. here in Alaska. Um, I am beyond grateful to be leaving this place. Um, One thing I can say, and it's something I practice whenever I uh, travel throughout my career, is to remain as present as possible in regards to the impending and inevitable change that will happen and occur. That at some point you will go somewhere else, and that you know you want to be able to look back, over your time at a given location and truly say to yourself that I maximized where I was, you know, and that's definitely something I can say about Alaska is that if I never came back here, which of course I have zero intention of doing so, if I never came back here, I can say that I maximized my stay here. And of course, there are a couple things still left on my bucket list, but not anything that I would lose sleep over. Still might hit one of the hot springs. I went to the location, it's a resort, Chena Hot Springs. I already went there in person, but I didn't participate in the festivities. Just had dinner. Um, and it was nice. It was nice. So I might go back there. There's a glacier I want to check out, but in most cases, I've done the Alaska tourism route, and what have you. So uh, definitely fun. Definitely fun. But yeah, a couple things I did want to touch on. Um, Something in my own life that I'm dealing with is just how I engage with people around me. Um, you see this throughout the Air Force. You see this pretty much wherever you go, wherever there's gathering of humans. You will see a dynamic that is beyond interesting. Beyond interesting. And by all means, if you guys have any questions, go ahead and drop them in the chat, and we'll get them addressed. But yeah, whenever you enter a new office, a new space, it's almost like you're starting your whole career over. It's like you're starting over meeting humans. And of course, this is my perception. Um, I don't know. I don't know. You have brand new officers. You have the equivalent of a veteran, NCO or so, senior NCOs. It's weird. It's like the people that I expected to clash with, I end up getting along with them later on, and the people that I thought I would, like more or less, we end up clashing later. It's definitely a weird dynamic. I did get one question already on the post I made in regards to this live stream, so we'll go ahead and check that out. It's an interesting question. Something in regards to extracurricular, substances that one might induce and bring into their person. um, Let me see. Portugal legalized all their drugs and their crime went down. The strategy was to provide druggies with drugs, therapy, and work. The druggies stopped taking drugs when provided with the other two. Johan Hari's discusses this in his TED Talk and book, Should America Try This? Legalizing drugs is always an interesting conversation. If you think about what's illegal right now, today, people are still engaging in those things. What's unethical, those things still take place. deeds that may be considered immoral, they're still taking place. And so the question must be addressed: if something's unethical or immoral, should it be illegal? Or if something is currently illegal, is does that make it immoral or unethical? It's a weird conversation, but it has to do with who defines what, the agency, the authority in place. Who is defining what is really what it comes down to. Drugs is always interesting because in most cases, the drugs that me and you, the 11 of us participate in this conversation, the 11 of us, most likely our drugs are legal currently. At least mine are. Mine will be caffeine, very much legal. Thank goodness. There's no shortage of caffeine around me at any given moment. I'm always prepared. Thankfully, the drugs I participate in are currently legal and have been as long as I've been partaking. To legalize drugs, it almost takes the sting or the social currency away from it. If you think about why people do certain things, why people make certain decisions, it almost has to do with, there's a quote that says, everything and anything you do is in pursuit of a feeling. A feeling. Most of us would like to think that we go to work in pursuit of fulfillment. We want to feel like we accomplished something of value, of worth. If you ask the average person who joins the Air Force why they joined, they said they want to be a part of something bigger, a part of a given organization, in pursuit of this higher calling. So if you think about why people do drugs, and if you think about the context in which people partake, there tends to be a social currency that's attached to it. And by legalizing something of that nature, you almost remove the social currency as well, meaning something ceases to be cool once it's legal. Now, of course, the question also spoke to, and of course, I'm going to assume that you're correct in the assumptions you made in your question. But as far as druggies, stopping the drugs and, becoming more, I guess, cooperative with society, they're giving more than they're taking. Should America adopt, such a practice to legalize everything in hopes that, crime, goes down? Well, inevitably they are attached. One would say there is a causation between if something's illegal and then the enforcement of such a law which makes it illegal leads to crime being higher or lower. Well, there's definitely a correlation between those two. If there was no law, then there will be less crime. But then if there's no law, there can't be any order. And if you think about that, that's the purpose of laws, is to have order. So, my take is going to be left out, quite abstract in nature. I probably won't answer the question directly, mainly because I'm in uniform and I just got off work and I feel like changing. But it's definitely something interesting to look at the dynamic between why people make certain decisions. Some people, do drugs for medicinal purposes. Some people do it because they're bored or because they're cool. Most of us choose a drug because it solves a problem. Most of us. And again, a lot of our drugs just happen to be legal. And so, of course, the ramifications may not be, in the legal system. It might just be in your body. It might be long term. It might just be a simple addiction to a cause and effect. Eating sugar, dopamine, all the different, hormones that release as a result of what you eat and ingest. There might be a loop that, might be hard to stop. I don't know. It's a really interesting conversation as far as if something's illegal and we just make it legal now, does that solve the problem completely? Do we empty our jail cells and say, all right, nothing's illegal now, just go do what you want to do? Does that solve the problem of crime in society? I always make the argument that there's no such thing as freedom. Freedom does not exist. It's a beautiful concept. But if you think about and you try to truly define, especially in relation to liberty, you try to define freedom and say, all right, what makes something free versus someone who has liberty? Perfect example is basic training. You will get something called base liberty, where basically, essentially, you can go anywhere on base. In general terms, you can go anywhere on base, and that's about it. You can't leave base. Can't do anything you want to do. You can't drive a car. You can't go into certain buildings. But for the most part, you have a certain amount of leeway that you're able to operate with. That's what most of us have. Especially if you wear the uniform, you have liberty. I can't come on this mic and just say whatever I want. Especially while in uniform, because I'm operating with certain rules. With certain there's a certain amount of you stay in the lines. Stay in the lines. And if you truly think about it, that's that same, those same parameters exist in the civilian world as well, where you would like to think that you're free. You live in the freest country, arguably, in the world, but there's still certain rules. So should America just start legalizing everything, with hopes that we can tax everything, we can just regulate everything, that, the crime rates will go down as a result of there not being any laws on the books as a result of this, or in relation to this certain drug or practice? That's a question that really needs to be addressed seriously. As long as there's a ulterior motive, let's say we're trying to tax it to, bring down the national debt. Possible. But I don't know. Laws have to be addressed from a place of long-term quality decision making. It's a very interesting question. What else we got in the chat? Shout out to everybody in the chat. What's good, Storm? Larry Snoo, I see you. Jay Blake, how am I doing? I'm well. I'm content. I would also say I'm discontent as well. I'm right in the middle between order and chaos. The perfect storm, if you will. Thanks for asking. Here's a question, and I'll be mindful by the way I address it. While society being the way it is right now, with hedonism in women and relationships particularly in mind, all right, I can't grant you that assumption. That's too general, so that we're going to dismiss that assumption as well. Particularly in mind, what is the ideal way for a young man to move around life without the wants to ever get married? Well, so once again, I'm addressing the last part of your question. Whenever you answer a question, whenever you look at a question, you must address the assumptions built into it. The assumptions tend to be from a biased standpoint, meaning you already have a built-in assumption or a biased view of the world, and you took your personal anecdotal view of the world and you brought it in as if it were universally true, which of course I can't grant that. Not to, especially from the intent of being intellectually honest and being as truthful as possible, with the intent to be truthful. But the last part of your question has great merit because that's what I'm practicing. What is the ideal way for a young man to move around life without the wants to ever get married? It's quite simple, and it's not as deep as most people make it. There's all these different movements, that we like to slap labels on stuff and just run with it. And it's not that deep. If you don't want to get married, don't get married. If you don't want to get married, don't get married. I'm one of those people. I don't want to get married. Married in the legal sense, as it relates to signing a contract, as it relates to assets, and how they're distributed. In the case where a marriage goes south, I don't plan on participating. With that said, how should a young man navigate the world? The same way you would if you were married. Except now you have greater amounts and dare I say qualitative traits surrounding liberty. You can you can access the same things available in marriage while you're single. You don't gain anything. Can you have children while you're single? Yes. It's everywhere. Can you have a companion, a partner while you're single? Yes. Can that person travel with you and move, throughout your career with you? Yes. Can you buy a house? You can do the same things while you're single that you can do while you're married. Now, of course, there might be some tax benefits you might miss out on, some exemptions you can't claim. That's money. Cool. But in regards to just the qualitative traits surrounding relationship, there is no change. At least, when it in regards to trying to measure it, you can't measure the changes gained by marriage. So yeah, it's quite simple, man. If you don't want to get married, just be honest with yourself and the others around you, and express that. You can start a relationship. There's definitely people around that have the same values as you have, especially of the opposite or the same sex. Whatever floats your boat, you have that option. So it's just about being honest with yourself and others, and going truly and truthfully after what you say you want. If you want to be single, in the legal sense that you're single, you're not married, you have that option. If you want to have children and be single, you have that option. You want to be married and have children, you have that option. You want to be single, have no kids, you have that option. But of course, think long term when you pursue what you want. Because again, a lot of us are young, including myself. There's always that room I leave for myself in regards to, I don't plan on getting married. I have no plans currently of getting married. It's not on my to-do list, but my mind could change. Everything I preach about, it could change next year. And so, of course, we move in wisdom in pursuit of quality decision making that gains, that allows us to gain options over time. You don't gain options by getting married. You lose options. So my decisions will always be in pursuit of gaining options. Which option gives me more options? Which option gives me better options? That's my thought. Good question. Nigel Murillo asks, is the logical answer always the right answer? I would say in most cases, yes. Because logic operates off principle in most cases. Of course, I kind of approach it from a place of leaving room for error. There tends to be an exception in every rule. Tends to be. An area that logic can fail. Let's say you have a problem, stimulus, pain. You say something is wrong. How do I address this? There are cases, and of course, when you leave the realm of science, you only have a few options, to go to from there. You leave science, you have philosophy you can go to, you got religion. You don't have a lot of other options in regards to what's practical, and then what you believe. You have spiritual beliefs. That's basically the only alternatives to logic, at least in my book. It's a very good question, but it almost poses as like, it's a very good question. I'm intrigued. Something I operate off in my own life is something called favor. It's something called favor. If you go to the gym and you want to get big, the logical or the pragmatic or the scientific method that you will pursue will be to, over time, lift more weight. And of course, your eating and your rest should align with that goal. Well, there's certain ways that you can approach life, and there's certain ways that I do approach life that has to do with gaining someone's favor. And if you really think about it, it's still a logical approach. Sometimes logic would suggest that you do something that is not human in nature. Perfect example, when I was deployed, I had a friend and she found out that her husband was cheating on her while she was deployed. Now, she came to me, she hit me up. I think I was off that day. She knocked on the door. Yo, I'm struggling, going through it. And of course, the way my mind tends to operate, and a lot of men, have the same mindset, is that when we hear a problem, we want to fix it. We want to fix it. And we want to bring a logical approach to solving this problem. And I would argue that 90% of the time, that's what's necessary. 90% of the time. But that other 10% tends to be where sometimes sometimes the answer is doing nothing. Sometimes logic will call for you to go through the step-by-step process to address this problem, hoping to get a positive end result that addresses the problem foundationally. But then there's some cases where listening is the answer. And this is where I branch off from logic to wisdom. Wisdom is very hard to quantify, but is very results-oriented. There's logic, step-by-step approach to solving a problem, to addressing pain, to acknowledging a stimulus, a catalyst. But then there's wisdom that says, all right, in this situation, this is the right decision to make in light of logic, in light of the scientific method, in light of doing mathematical equations, in light of Google, in light of looking it up in the dictionary. This is the right decision that kind of ties all of them together in a holistic approach. So let's say, again, my friend comes to me, just found out her man's cheating. What should I do? Well, my first approach was to try to talk her through it and try to understand and to try to map by how you found out and look up the evidence and look up divorce attorneys, and try to work out, how are we going to pay for this? And you have any children? Do you have any assets? That's the logical approach and most attorneys will probably take that route. But from a friend's standpoint, the wise decision was simply to give a hug. And that's probably the best answer to your question, is that sometimes there's logic. Sometimes there's just, it's simple and it's practical and it's pragmatic. And then sometimes it's just wisdom, and sometimes it's just listening. It's doing less. It's subtraction. It's giving a hug. It's being human. It's giving a gift. It's asking for help. Sometimes it's just going to a friend's house and saying, yo, I'm lonely. It probably doesn't seem logical, but wisdom approaches all problems. Logic tends to be limited. Scientific method tends to be limited. Mathematics tends to be limited. But then you have wisdom that applies universally to everything. So, yeah, very good question. Very good question. Actually made me dig deep on that one. I enjoyed the exercise. Definitely a good question. What we got? Neo Life asks, are you Aquarius? Let us guess your sign. Don't tell us. I'm not an Aquarius. So you guys can definitely muse over that. Yeah, I'm definitely not Aquarius. I'm not real big on signs. I'm definitely aware that a lot of people are. A lot of people see, your astrological sign as a life sentence, when I see it as a very good and wildly general suggestion. Oh, you're born in this month, so you're probably hungry when you don't eat food, and You drink water when there tends to be no water, or there is water, or you did cardio that day, and then you take naps whenever you feel sleep. It's too general. If you read most of you go to the Chinese food restaurants and you have like the, what's it called, the wafer things, and you read the little line inside of it. It's just such a general statement. You like peace when you're in the midst of chaos. I'm like, this applies to most people. Anyway, I digress. But yeah, I'm not Aquarius. Shout out to the lead attorney. Lead attorney's in here. Just to clear the air, I am not a general, but I definitely accept the title. But yeah, let's see what he says. Thank you for the great content. Question: I've heard that many marriages in the Army are entered into because of the government benefits. Does this happen often, or as often, as well in the Air Force? It's a very good question. So the short answer is yes. The short answer is yes. People get married for so many different reasons, but there's something called the dorms, the barracks equivalent in the Army. My boy, I think he did about 8 years in the Army, and yeah, he was E5 when he finally got out the dorms. I believe the barrier to getting out the barracks, which is again, it's where I live currently. I don't have a choice where I'm stationed at. This is the only thing that exists up here in Alaska. There's nothing outside this base, so this is your option if you want to live indoors. But I believe in the Army, you have to be either E6 or married, or you have to have dependents to get out the barracks. And E6 takes a minute to get, at least in the Army. I'm E5. I've been in a little over 4 years. I've promoted every single year that I've been in the military. The Air Force is very different in the fact that you could be out the dorms like as soon as you get to base. Like there's some cases where you show up to your base and they say, "Yo, we don't got any vacancies. Go find an apartment." And that's it. As simple as that. Whereas a lot of cases in the Army, people are getting married to escape the fact that you have to live in these, 10 by 10 rooms. You might have to share a bathroom. Really depends. You're definitely most likely sharing a kitchen, and surrounding, living quarters. But yeah, you see it in the Air Force for really honestly some different reasons. It's not so much that you're confined to the dorms as long as the Army, but a lot of people just don't want to be in the dorms. A lot of people get married just because they think they're in love. And of course, this is a whole another video that I really need to address as far as who is defining love and how we measure it, or should it be measured. It's definitely an ongoing question and concern of mine, that as long as everyone else is defining love the way they want to, it's relative in nature. That love is just some abstract feeling, in your gut that, when you see somebody and, it's a whole thing. It's a whole thing. But so many people are in love, in basic training tech school. They get to their first base, they fall in love with someone. And of course, it's built on nothing. It's built on nothing. That it translates to people actually signing the dotted line. You see a lot of divorces. Typically around my rank, staff sergeant. Most people that have gone that route are probably notching their first divorce by staff sergeant, just because turbulence. When one person gets orders, it's going to test whatever you've tried to build. And a lot of dating ceases to exist the second one person gets orders, because again, a lot of relationships in the military are convenient. They're convenient. The military is very lonely at times. And so you have cases where people are just in the same area, the same general facilities, the same general area, and they have 1, 2, 3 things in common. That's enough. Let's go sign this paper up. So, yeah, you see it quite often, but I believe it probably exists more in the more restrictive branches where, the limitations to living on your own, such as off base or having your own apartment, or, not being in the barracks. Yeah, you definitely see it more often in probably the Marines and Army. I'm not sure what the Navy does, but I'm sure they deal with their own issues, especially with ships. Goodness, you could not pay me enough to deploy on somebody's ship in the bowels of the beast. No. But yeah, there's definitely differences between branches, and a lot of people just don't pay attention to it enough. And a lot of people just they look at the marketing, and their chair force. I don't want to sit in a chair. Well, you say that now, when you're young and you're able to fall and get back up. Wait till wait till you 30, 35, your joints start moving a little bit slower, and you bend down and pick something up and it takes you a minute to return to sender. It's too much. It's too much. But shout out to the lead attorney. Appreciate you. For those of you who don't know, lead attorney is a family law attorney located in Atlanta, and he's new to YouTube, relatively new, but he's blowing up. He's blowing up, and definitely needed. Definitely needed. He's someone I study, just in regards to wisdom. And again, wisdom, it preserves you. It preserves you. And a lot of us have to make so many mistakes just to get to a point of learning. I'm like, you can avoid all of that. Ask a question. And of course, there are certain cases where you have to apply what you know, and you have to go through something. But in the cases of, like, let's say, a divorce, or dealing with attorneys, it might be too late if you're hiring an attorney to try to learn from an attorney, or to learn the process that you're about to enter. Why not have some foresight? So shout out to lead attorney. Appreciate the super chat. What else we got? Apollo Felix asks, why did I join the Air Force? My reasoning for joining the Air Force is quite simple. Financial stability. Financial stability. I think a lot of people, especially in my age range, I joined at, I believe, 23 or 24. I think I turned 24 in basic. Financial stability is probably one of the major factors right now that is recruiting trainees, recruits. I believe I did a consult, what was it, yesterday or the day before, where, just being laid off. COVID is just hitting hard. You go from one job to the next job to the next job. And depending on the state you're in, the rules are changing, continuously. And a lot of us right now, all we want is just predictability. We want peace, stability, calm. That's what science gives us, is normality. It just tells us what normally happens over time. And something that you don't get, well, you definitely get it financially. You get that in the military. You get financial predictability. 1st and 15th, there will be a check waiting for you. But it's the rest of your life that tends to be more or less chaotic. Perfect example, me. I'm PCSing. I'm leaving Alaska. I don't know when I'm leaving. I don't know the route I'm taking. I did some research on Canada and the borders and the rules that they have in place in regards to driving through, but I don't know. I'm just gonna pull up. I'm like, yo, Canada, let me see something, and I'll take it from there, really. But there are a lot of times in your Air Force career, or military as a whole, where you're gonna encounter a lot of uncertainty, and that's what a lot of people are leaving in the civilian world, hoping that they find just strict, regulated, predictability in the military. And in a lot of cases, you're going to lose predictability. You're going to lose control. You're going to have less say. Starting with the job you get. There are 3 variables that determine the job you get: your ASVAB score, the jobs you qualify for, in regards to, and especially including your MEPS qualifications, and the needs of the Air Force, which is probably the biggest determining factor, because you could have exactly the score you want, have a list of jobs of the jobs you want, and they can still say, we need you over here. What are you going to do? It's a volunteer force. What are you going to do? So definitely, when I approached the Air Force, it was from a place of just wanting to gain more financial stability. What I was doing in the civilian world, I was working for myself, playing piano full time. I was also a commercial bus driver, so I had income. I had enough for me. I had enough to take vacations when I wanted to, and my bills are paid for the most part. I was able to splurge when I wanted to, but I couldn't build on that. And when I say I couldn't at the rate that I wanted to. So yeah, it was a quick decision. It really didn't take me long to actually switch gears and say, I'm going to the military. And that's what I did. And so far, 4 years in, it's interesting. It's interesting. Definitely varies person to person, but my experience has been more or less pleasant, mainly in regards to in my pursuit of wisdom, and it's kind of preserved me throughout my career so far and helped me be successful. So yeah, good question. I saw this question when it popped up, and of course, my energy increased greatly. Do you believe in free will, or do you think every action, whatever we will ever take, is predetermined? I will answer your question with a question. Do you look both ways before you cross the street? Or are you predestined to get hit by a truck? Don't get caught up in the details. The question is an overlapping, the point of that question is to show you that there's certain things that you have control of. Now, of course, in that same analogy, there could be cases where, let's say you're driving down the road and somebody comes and a drunk driver hits you head on. You had no choice in the matter. You didn't have enough time to react to it. So the question remains, and especially, a question that gives merit to your question, because it's a question that we all share. It's something that I personally research. It's the only reason why I have more insight on it than the average person, is because that question has such gravity that this one question right here, a lot of us, when you think about the big questions, especially in regards to suffering, those overseas or those in third world countries, or, those who are less fortunate, even in America, why would a loving God, why would someone who's all knowing, who's all in control, allow people to suffer? And of course, that question is always brought up by a human or about a human, which points to intrinsic worth, intrinsic value. Where does intrinsic value come from? I'll tell you where it doesn't come from. Time, matter, and chance does not produce intrinsic value. That's a whole tangent. I digress from that. In regards to your question, I definitely believe in free will. Without free will, we could not hold anyone accountable. You look at the average pedophile and how that they could try to rationalize their decision as much as they want to. We will still hold them accountable and say, even though you felt that you had a compulsion, you were born this way, you had no choice in the matter, the law says this, you broke the law, we must hold you accountable. To say there's no free will is to also say you can't hold anyone or tell someone that they're wrong. Why would premeditated murder exist if there's no such thing as free will? You're saying that someone planned out someone else's murder, but there's no free will? And of course, by no means am I saying that you are arguing that there's no free will. It's a question. But the arguments I would make will be in this manner, as far as there's too much evidence that there's free will to say that there is no free will. Perfect example, another analogy that I definitely enjoy bringing to light. If I have a crowd in front of me, audience, standing by and anticipating my words of whatever, and I say, you know what, we're gonna feed the people. We're gonna bring them pizza, and we're gonna bring them rats, and you must choose between the two. And of course, before I bring it out there, I'm talking to people in the back, and I'm like, you know what, I predict that everyone, and mostly everyone, will choose the pizza over the rat to partake in. Now, making that prediction, a lot of you could probably agree, even now, that I would probably be very accurate in my presumption. Yes, most people will choose the pizza. There might be some exceptions. Cool. We'll get them medicated and helped out. But in most cases, most people are going to choose the pizza. Now, the question remains, did I remove your free will by predicting and being accurate in saying that most people will choose pizza over the rat? Did you still have the right to choose the rat? I didn't choose for you. I didn't influence you. Of course, I have knowledge about you, knowing what humans tend to do. Humans tend towards pleasure, tends towards the easiest path, the path of least resistance. I know what humans tend to do based on my knowledge of their actions and their behavior. You know, discernment. The proof of caring is the ability to know someone. So by knowing you, I can make predictions. So the question always comes up, is God all knowing? If he's all knowing, then he knows what we're already going to do. So we don't have free will because he already knows the decision we're going to make. Therefore, my destiny is already said and done. I don't have free will. And of course, with that analogy, plain as day, you can see how I can have foreknowledge about something and still allow you to choose. You see this in interrogation all the time where the detective knows the answer already. They're just they're giving you a chance to be honest. Or they're waiting for you to give up your tell when you're lying. So yeah, I definitely believe in free will. I believe it's necessary for humans to be different than animals. There's a reason why when we go into cages, it's by other human beings and not animals. When animals go in cages, it's almost always by humans. There's a major difference between a human and an animal. It's plain as day. Why is it? It's simple questions. Why is it that humans can fly faster than the speed of sound? Nothing else can. Nothing else. No other organism that we're aware of, that we know about in this ecosystem called Earth, can fly at the speed of sound or faster. Humans can. Nothing else can. But somehow we all share a common ancestor? We're all the same? I don't know. Why is it that we can dive to the ocean floor and the animals that are already down there, they can't come back on land? They don't come on land. Unless they're dead, of course. Why is it that humans can fly and dive and breathe air? We removed ourselves from the food chain. Think about that. Of course, we have these organisms, that are on top of the food chain, crocodiles and what have you, and lions and the big cats, what have you, sharks, cool. But you have humans that we decided, we're not going to participate in you guys' food chain. We're going to remove ourselves and control the food chain. It's crazy. So there's so many ways to approach that question in regards to the evidence that is available to us that points to us having a huge distinct difference between humans and animals, and especially our minds that clearly show us that we are way different than anything else that exists out here. We're going to other planets trying to find stuff. We're leaving this planet to go find stuff that might exist, that might kill us on a different planet. That's crazy. So yes, we definitely have free will. There's too much evidence to support the fact that we are making decisions consciously. And then, of course, if the opposing argument comes and says, we have no free will, then we cease to hold anyone else accountable for their decisions because they're not at fault. Their destiny said that they were going to do that. They were predisposed to that decision. They had no control of it. It was involuntary. So that's a short answer to address the question, but that question has huge ramifications, huge gravity, So great question. This question is very disrespectful in nature. When was the last time I got dunked on? Listen, I have never, well, I ain't gonna say that. I will never admit to getting dunked on unless there's video evidence it didn't happen. Never been crossed, never got hezzy. It doesn't happen. You feel me? Like, I'm different. Lil bruh says, are you at Cannon or are you still at Alaska? I'm still in Alaska. Should be leaving any day now. Hopefully this week, but probably next week I'll be headed down to cross the Yukon, cross through Canada, and hopefully in 48 hours or so be in Seattle. And today I did some mapping out of my routes that I'll be taking, starting here at Clear Air Force Station, and crossing through Seattle. Might go through San Francisco, stop through Los Banos, see my family. Keep going down through San Diego, cross through, I think it's Phoenix, Albuquerque, and then Cannon, New Mexico. So this should definitely be an enjoyable road trip. Get some air, get some ocean views, get some good food, and definitely kind of just enjoy my routes, and just take my time, using my travel days, and should be nice. I like this question as well. Do you believe people can be evil by nature, serial killers, etc., or do you think life turns good people bad? This is one of those questions where you have to address certain terminology. Good and bad. Who defines what is good and what is bad? It can't be one of us. There's something called a moral law. If you don't know what moral law means, just think about what is regular law. What is legal? What is illegal? There's law that tells us what is legal and what's illegal. That's the only way we know when we're out of line. So again, when you have the spectrum and you have on one side, this is right standing, this is wrongful standing, I guess. Then you have good and you have bad. You have ethical, unethical. No matter what you do, you will be struggling between these opposing sides. Shout out to the new member. I didn't want to get R Blaze. Appreciate you. The spectrum will always keep you struggling. As long as someone else is trying to redefine these terms, no one will make any progress, especially in regards to this question. Because we are very good at identifying, all right, this is clearly evil. This is wrong. This is bad. My favorite thing to watch while I'm at work, ABC News, ABC Action News. It's just more evidence that humans are missing it. Right now, someone is in a laboratory, probably somewhere at Tesla or Ford or Mercedes. Someone is trying to program human emotion, human intelligence into a computer. And they're trying to tell that computer, if you see a grandma on the sidewalk, do not swerve to hit it, even if there's an accident in front of you. Swerve the opposite direction. But wait, if there's a child on that side, which one? Do you swerve at all? Do you just hope the brakes work? If a Tesla is about to have an accident, and if they swerve this way to avoid the accident, they hit a grandma, or if they swerve this way and they hit the child, how does a computer determine which decision to make? How do you program that? How do you rationalize that decision? That's a lawsuit waiting to happen. Humans struggle with defining good and evil. We're not good at it. We're trying. There's much effort in pursuit of that answer. But as we sit here today, we don't have an answer for that. We're trying to figure out, how do I objectively, universally answer the question of good and evil and define it properly where it doesn't also incriminate me? When I was in ALS, the question came up. Of course, it was by me. We was watching a Band of Brothers. Of course, towards the end, they addressed the scene of the concentration camps and the work camps and the death camps. And a simple question, by me, of course, brought up to the class: how do we define good and evil? Perfect analogy. I'll give y'all one. Look at the Nazis. They are bad. They're mistreating the Jews. They're mistreating these people based on their ideology. They're wrong. You shouldn't torture people. You shouldn't starve people. That's bad. But now, assuming that good is the opposite, good is not starving people, good is not killing people, we must look at the United States military. Do we fit the criteria of evil? It was silent as hell. Because if you address that definition and you say, all right, now we must apply this definition to everyone, not just the Nazis, but to everyone. Now we're at an impasse of, it seems like all humans are evil. That's why we have a military. Because humans are capable of evil. It's just there's definitely levels. We would like to think that we're on the good side, that we're trying to, we're going in pursuit of truth, of helping people. I think we are. But there's an argument. There's an argument. So, of course, I agree that serial killers are bad. Why? Because life is valuable. That's the assumption built in. Whenever we prosecute a serial killer, alleged serial killer, that they're innocent before, proven, with evidence that they're guilty. The assumption is that human life is valuable and that no one has the right to take a human life. Until someone, mind you, someone defines good and evil properly, your answer can never have a definite answer. Or your question can never have a definite answer. Words have meaning. We must define words. If we don't define the words, the sentence has no meaning. Meaning we can't communicate. Simple as that. I definitely enjoy this whole topic. This topic alone has me just losing sleep, just really trying to think about it. Yeah, it comes down to defining words. Shout out to R Blades, $10 super chat. What? Who you, bro? You ain't dunk on nobody. What? You remember that day I dunked on you at Dickinson Park? Be safe out there, man. Listen, bro. I don't know who you are, but bro, I ain't been dunked on probably since my dad dunked on me at Fort Campbell back in, I was like elementary school. I ain't never been dunked on. Hell no. What else we got? These some good questions. Machiavelli asks, any advice for someone in their 20s? Very vague question. But yes. There's always wisdom for the youngins. I'm 28 now. I'm 28. I feel like I'm the starting point when I started pursuing wisdom was around 24. About 4 years ago. And of course, a lot of things that I pursued and a lot of things and a lot of belief systems I held have changed gradually, of course, with the pursuit of wisdom. I'll say this. There's a question that you must ask in your 20s. You probably won't ask that question, but that question will be asked probably when you're 40. The issue here is that question is available now. There's wisdom that you will pursue when you're 40 that maybe you can pursue that same question now. There's a mistake that you're going to make at 40 that possibly you can avoid it by seeking wisdom in your 20s. There's a regret that you're going to have as a result of your actions or inactions at age 40 that could possibly be avoided when you're 20. That's the issue of life. Is pursuing the knowledge and wisdom that you need to be successful later today. Find that question. The advice I would give to my younger self would simply be to get a mentor that lines up with my goals. Of course, the actual assumption again would be you need to have goals. You need to have goals. Setting goals early. There's nothing wrong with changing them later. You're allowed to change your mind later. A goal today could be something different tomorrow. Cool. But you need to start with something to at least give yourself a starting point. I had a consultation yesterday with a gentleman. He's about to go off to Army OCS. And my advice to him was just go. He's dealing with a ton of different issues. Now, I'm not going to get into a situation, but he's dealing with a lot of obstacles in pursuit of leaving for the Army. And I had to tell him, like, listen, your situation would never be perfect. Your situation will never be perfect to where you can just have a smooth, beautiful, wedding-like, honeymoon-like transition into the military. That's not how that works. The economy will not be perfect. It will not perfectly align with your transition. You would like it too. We would all like that. I would love my transition from canon to just be like a movie and just amazingly smooth and just peaceful. But in most cases, it won't be. In your 20s, a lot of people use their 20s to kind of just randomly make mistakes and just have fun and pursue pleasure. That's well and fine. That's cool. But realize that at no point does any human escape work, discipline, the pursuit of truth, the acknowledgement of truth. And a lot of people have to acknowledge truth in the form of regret. Meaning someone at 65 is a greeter at Walmart, and that's their reality because during their 20s, they didn't pursue discipline. I would rather be exhausted in my 20s. Exhausted, tired, but be disciplined enough to have an end result waiting on me that is positive in nature. Some people play in their 20s, have all their fun and pleasure. It's cool. Some people play in their 40s until they die. Just make a decision. Make a decision. I believe in having both, of course. When at all possible, I pursue both, which means my day has to be planned. The time I get up, the time I go to bed, in between, every hour needs to have a purpose and a result, a return on investment. I invest an hour of time into something, some task, with hopes that there's a result that I benefit from later. Wisdom is pushing pleasure into your future. Wisdom is pushing pleasure from your current moment where you would like to have it and eat your cake and just enjoy it, pushing that same pleasure down the line, saying, I'm not doing away with it completely. I'm just saying later. Right now is work. And there's certain times you can have both. I'm going to watch Hulu today. I'm going to watch Netflix today. I went to work today. I went to the gym today. All of it. There's time for all of it. I did a live stream today. There's time for all of it. I watched YouTube today. I read a book today. There's time for all of it. The difference is, are you planning it or are you being surprised by, what your day hands you? The advice I would give to someone in their 20s is to stop for a second. Stop for a second. Figure out what you actually want from this world. Find someone who currently has it or has something similar and ask them a question. It's called mentorship. It's why I follow certain channels on YouTube. It's why I try to invest in certain relationships and network. Because I know where I want to be at. And I see other people who have gotten close or have achieved something similar. And I'm like, maybe if I just ask them a question, they can tell me the mistakes they made and I can avoid those mistakes. Not that I'll be perfect, but again, one of my favorite quotes that I live by, and you see this magnified in the story of Adam and Eve. Some mistakes are immediately fatal. Some mistakes you don't get a do-over on. I was watching a podcast, I think it was on the roommates, and I can't remember who, I think it was David, and one thing he said, he was like, avoid big mistakes, especially when you're young. Avoid the big mistakes. Avoid the major mistakes that follow you the rest of your life. Some people have so much fun that fun follows them into their 40s, 50s, 60s. You had one night of pleasure, one night of fun, and that junk followed you, bro, and kept following you. Have so much fun that you lose track of wisdom, that you just kind of let the moment take you. I'm like, no, you're not a victim. You have options. You have choices to make. I don't know. But yeah, your 20s are sacred. Believe it or not. Your 20s are sacred. A lot of things that we want in our 30s and 40s, we must pursue them in our 20s. People that went to college, they pursued high quality grades, SAT scores in high school, in their teens. And it resulted in them getting what they wanted in their 20s. Whatever you want in your 30s, you must pursue it in your 20s. Don't have so much fun that you realize that you wake up one day and you're 40 and you realize, I don't have anything to show for my life, for my time. A lot of people wake up 50, 60 years old and realize I have nothing to show for my life outside of some great memories. In a lot of cases, nights I don't remember. Just, I had so much fun that I can't remember. I don't know. I don't have anything to show. I know, all I know is I got to work tomorrow. That's all. I got to work tomorrow. I got to get my hours, get my 40 hours so I can pay these bills. And that's their life until they die. For me, there has to be way more than that. There has to be more to life than me just waking up and just another day to go to work. Another day to just kind of check in and punch the clock and be miserable all day long. And this is my life and this is what I do. And yep, no excitement, no adventure, no nothing, because I did all that in my 20s and I couldn't mix in the discipline. I couldn't mix in work. I didn't have any goals in my 20s. Now I have goals in my 40s, but I have less energy, less flexibility, less time, less resources, less options. Now I have regret. Your 20s, they're sacred. Treat them like that. See your 20s as, I'm 28 now. I'm 28 now. I got work. I started pursuing what I wanted at 24. I was behind the curve, but in a lot of cases, I was ahead of the curve. So, yeah, be grateful. Realize that your 20s are sacred. A lot of people would love to trade spaces with you. Go back to being 19, 20 years old. Get a mentor. Get somebody to help point you in the right direction. This is why I offer consults in the description. Not so much that I have all the answers, but I've made mistakes. And I have mentors that I pay money to, that I invest in their time. Like, yo, tell me about this. When I went to Texas, I drove down to Houston to see my boy, and just for a conversation. 8 hours on the road, just give me some game. Just put me on game, bro. Just tell me what you're doing. And a lot of times, it's not a particular question that ends up with the biggest insights. It's just me sitting there listening, and he'll just be rambling. Him and his wife would just sit there and talk, and they'll mention something, or they'll ramble, and they'll go on a different topic. And of course, I'll throw something in there, and then we go back and forth. But it'll be like towards the end, or towards the beginning, or towards the middle, and they'll just say, "Yeah, and I made this decision. I did this, and I did this," and that right there might be what I've been looking for the past 2 years. And the light to click. I'm like, that's what I was looking for. Get a mentor. A mentor cares more about your future than your present. A friend cares about your similarities. A mentor cares about your difference, your assignment, your uniqueness. A mentor does not care about your friendship. A mentor is on your payroll. They're there to help direct you in the right direction, help you avoid mistakes. And a lot of us are just kind of bumping our head, going through life, just trying to figure things out on our own. I don't need no help. I don't need nobody. I got this. I'm strong, independent by myself. I got this. Cool. Regret is the world's best teacher. I say on the channel quite often, do what you want. Do exactly what you want to do. Don't take nothing from nobody. Don't listen to nobody. Don't let nobody tell you nothing. Do what you want to do. Do exactly whatever you feel like doing. Whatever feels good, do it. All of it. But regret will tell you whether or not that was the right decision. Regret. So that's my advice for someone in their 20s. I know I said a lot, but of course you have too much time, and that decade is so valuable. and a lot of people just kind of misuse it. A lot of people don't see it as sacred, the way it truly is. This is why people hate turning 30. Like it's almost like it's a rite of passage to turn 30. I got 2 years. So you just be mindful of those things. Get a mentor, set some goals, and have fun, but plan your fun. Don't let your fun follow you into your 30s and 40s. And plan your day. 24 hours. Good question. What else we got? Chase William asks, yo, what's up, bro? Should I do some medical in the military for a good transition in civilian? I don't make any decisions based on the civilian world. I make decisions based off where I'm currently going and where I want to end up 20 years from now. In relation to a civilian job, there are many jobs in the military that translate to the civilian world. If you think about it, just simple logic. Most jobs that exist in the civilian world exist in the military. We just have a different community, and the workers, the people that integrate into the military environment, the only difference is that they're wearing a uniform. That's the only difference. Obviously there's different liberties and different rules and regulations, but in most cases it's just, I'm a doctor, but I'm a military doctor. I'm a mechanic in the civilian world. Come to the military, we have our own mechanics. You have finance accountants in the civilian world. In the military, we have finance technicians and budget analysts. The same thing. So most jobs translate. It may not be apples to apples, but it's going to be similar in nature. So if you want to do medical in the civilian world, you want to do medical in the military, pursue that. You're not guaranteed that, especially in the military, but pursue it. Hope it helps. I saw a question. What else we got? I saw a question. I just missed it. The scroll button is finicky. We got some good questions here. As I'm scrolling, I'm seeing some interesting, interesting stuff. How far did I scroll? Good Lord. Oh my goodness. All right. Any update on the topic of your passive income choices? Again, I'll have to make a stream about that. Again, so when it comes to passive income, I'm not doing anything that's majorly different than anyone else. I'm simply Googling passive income and applying it. Again, YouTube is probably my number one go-to right now because it funds a lot of other different endeavors. Because again, I can repurpose a lot of this content. Also, it's a nice hub that has an algorithm attached to it. It has discovery attached to it, and it also has a niche attached to it, meaning people can come find me, and I can solve a problem for them. So it's great for networking. It's great for a lot of different things that I'm able to use it for. But yeah, I'll have to make a separate stream on passive income. I don't want to get to all that right now. What else we got? I'm gonna say your last name. Touré asks, any advice on BMT, man? I got into the USAFR as a boom operator. That's what's up. What do you think about the job? I don't know much about it, but I know they have probably the best vantage point in the military. One of the best views is seeing a plane pull up to another plane. And of course, for those of you who don't know, it's just you're refueling other planes in the sky while you're flying. That shouldn't be possible. It's amazing. Putting gas in my own car is it's enough during the winter in Alaska. It's too much to deal with. So to refuel another plane while flying is of course amazing. Flying itself is amazing. But to refuel while you're flying is amazing. You have a great opportunity, man. You have a great opportunity. Pursue it. Yeah, take a lot of pictures. If I were starting the boom operator job, I would probably start a catalog of just taking a picture of every plane. Try to get every plane accomplished in my library of planes that I've refueled. It'd be dope. That'd be dope. Jashawn Jones says, no disrespect, you look older than last year. No disrespect. Everything all right, King. Listen. I don't deny your allegations. Something about stress. Stressful environments. Stress will impact the body. I posted on Twitter a while back that worry doesn't affect your situation. It affects your health. I've been doing a lot of worrying, a lot of stress, a lot of stress, a lot of change, a lot of growing. I've gained a lot of weight. I've gained a lot of weight. My face gets rounder. Trust me, you guys are not the only people seeing this. I have to look at myself on the screen. It's something that I definitely have to address. And it's why I've been seeing a therapist. It's why I've been addressing it from a holistic standpoint, meaning asking for help. Asking for help. Sometimes there are issues that you must acknowledge, and you are not equipped to handle it by yourself. I'm in that place currently. I've warned about this place in my life. I have videos about hitting that wall in your military career, hitting the slump. It comes around staff sergeant. Trust me on that. I warned myself. I warned other people about it, and now I'm in it. Now, of course, how I handle it is my pursuit of wisdom. Because again, no one's perfect. You got people that come on the screen, on the camera, on the mic, and they talk above people and they talk at people and they say, you shouldn't be doing that and you should have did that and you wrong about that. It's wrong. I start with a place of accountability. I need to improve on this. I need to be better at handling stress. I need to stop worrying and address the situation. I need to learn to accept things I can't control. I need to stop relying on food for happiness. Accountability. So yeah, you're not wrong. I probably do look older. But yeah, it's a work in progress, and we will make it. Trust me. I am not a quitter. I'm not a quitter. What else we got? Yeah, STEM scientist says some of us have aged a ton in the past year. Listen, COVID has not been kind to any of us. Even those who have financial stability, finances solve problems. Trust me, that they do, but it's not everything. You have rich people who don't have peace. You know, their bills are paid, but they don't have peace. They're not happy. That's a reality for a lot of people. Hiram says he wants to be nice. I see you. Shout out to my member, Hiram. My boy Courtney in the chat. I see you, bro. Hope you're doing well, man. Once again, shout out to lead attorney. Appreciate the super chat. Appreciate it. What else we got? Neo Life asks if I'm a Pisces. No, I'm not. Good try. No, I'm not. Elmer's Mind Games asks, how do you get to know your coworkers better while refraining from engaging in gossip or toxic groups, aka keeping your integrity but still being a part of the group? Learning how to ask questions. Sometimes silence is required. This is something a lot of people deal with, including myself. It's so interesting to observe humans. Introverts have it the best. We just find a corner and we just observe the people. We just people watch. I love doing that. I love people watching. And by doing so, you're able to acknowledge and peep dynamics between humans. And if you look at just a general group dynamic, you always see the loud person, the life of the party, the clown, the person who's leading the engagement, the type A personality, the extrovert, if you will. And then you have like the person that's right next to them, that's kind of the cheerleader, the yes man, if you will, the oh yeah, and what else, and you know, it's just the second in command, more or less, the deputy Fife to the Andy Griffin. And then you have like all the other underlings that are just kind of around. A lot of people have trouble with the idea of being alone or saying no to being included in the crowd. I believe in having both because I believe both are necessary. I believe that there are times where you need to be okay with being by yourself. There are times where you need to be okay with not being included, not being invited, not from a place of pride or not accepting because of a place of pride, but because you're different, you're unique, and you don't belong in that environment. A lot of people lose their life because they were in the wrong place, the right time. You had no business there. I know with my assignment on my life, there are certain environments I have no business being in. I know with my weaknesses, my specific weaknesses, there are certain environments I do not belong in. Certain people should not ever go to a casino. Certain people should never go to a bar. So in cases where you want to be included, you must acknowledge the root of that feeling that is driving you to want to be included. A lot of people have that fear of missing out, complex. And of course, I believe all humans have this to a certain point where, of course, most people want to be a part of something. You want to be invited to the party. You want to be part of the cool crowd. Granted. You must ask the question, is it necessary? Does it align with your goals? Does it align with your goals? We should all have goals set. And of course, you must acknowledge the fact that, do you want to be a part of that demographic? In order to change your outcomes, you must change the people around you. A lot of your perceptions are due to the people that are around you. And we're trying to force ourselves into groups, into environments that are not conducive to where we're trying to go. They're opposites. Or they're slightly off. That's all you need is to be slightly off from your goal to miss. I can pretty well assimilate to just about any group, mainly because I study everything from an intellectual standpoint. I can talk about just about any sport intellectually. I can talk about religion, I can talk about philosophy, talk about politics. I can talk about entertainment, history, physics, mathematics, all of it. I'm a curious person. So in most cases, if a conversation starts off with a question and I'm pretty much able to engage with it. When it comes to groups, I choose my groups wisely, just as I do my friends. Every group that assembles does not mean that I need to be just immediately up under it. Sometimes it just means I need to observe, or sometimes I need to be included. Sometimes I need to step in, or maybe I want to. It comes down to wisdom. The answer to your question is wisdom. You mentioned keeping your integrity. Wisdom, because sometimes association will muddy your integrity. Because you were in that group, you're associated with that group. You see this in the news currently. You see this in politics. You see this in current events where people are associated with certain groups. Therefore, their reputation is associated with that group. And it only takes seconds to get your reputation ruined because of association, because of perception. So don't be in a hurry to be a part of everything. Don't be in a hurry. If you want to, of course, especially in regards to coworkers, especially in the military where you spend a lot of time with people, every single day, the same people, 8 to 12 hours a day, you see the same people, you're always around them. You don't need to talk about everything, but whenever you hear a certain topic that you can immediately participate in, do so. Don't be afraid of rejection. Just pick your moments. If they're gossiping, just listen. Just ask questions. You can ask as many questions as you want. But it's when you make statements, when you get yourself in trouble. When you make belief statements and targeted statements and opinionated statements, it's where you get yourself in trouble. But if you ask a wise question, and say, why is that? What do you think about it? What happened? How did that affect you? It's just questions. Seek wisdom. What else we got? Here, I grew up in Clarksville, Tennessee, right outside Fort Campbell. What else we got? What's good, Christopher? Random entertaining stuff rather. Any tips to make it through MEPS? I have to go very soon. Be honest with your recruiter. Be silent at MEPS. Honest with your recruiter, silent at MEPS. Don't go in there talking. You're gonna get a lot of questions asked to you of just in pursuit of truth. Be quiet. Be quiet. Do not lie. Just be quiet. Talk to your recruiter. Listen to your recruiter. Follow your recruiter's instructions. Your recruiter is there to get you into the Air Force. MEPS is there to disqualify you. Two different energies. The recruiter is your ticket in. MEPS is trying to get you out. MEPS is protecting the institution of the military, the Department of Defense. MEPS is there to say, this person is not fit for service. They are a financial liability down the line. It's not going to work. This partnership is not going to work. They can't sign the contract. They're not healthy to meet their end of the bargain. The recruiter is there to kind of just push you through and to help you get in. So, again, listen to your recruiter. Be silent at MEPS. Seek wisdom. Choose your moments. Choose your moments. Do not lie. Silence or honesty. Silence or honesty. And again, not everything needs a direct answer. Again, wisdom. Wisdom. It's the best answer I can give, because I'm not here to tell anybody to lie. I'm not here to try to tell you to sneak by and be deceptive. But hear me. Hear me. If that makes sense. You're right. 35 is not old. Yeah, you're right. What else we got? Thoughts on remotely piloted aircraft, and do you know anyone with that assignment? I do not know anyone with that. I think I know someone who had that job back in basic training. He was in my flight. I haven't kept in touch with him. Thoughts on the job? I don't have context on it. Don't have context. I know they're stationed typically in Nevada, probably deployed as well, but yeah, no clue. All right, what else we got? Christopher says, I would also say that the Air Force gives you more options. Depending on the AFSC, you have more options within the Air Force as opposed to the corporate world. I'll take your word for it. Never been in the corporate world, but the one thing I can speak to is that the military is rich with resources. Rich with them. A lot of people just don't take advantage of them. A lot of people don't know about the resources available in the military. But there are definitely tons of resources available that a lot of people just don't take advantage of, mainly due to ignorance. They just don't know. So I'm inclined to agree. Agree. What else we got? Neo Live asks, how safe is being in the military for women of color? The Lavina Johnson and Vanessa Guillen cases frighten me. Fear is irrational. Danger is real. Fear is irrational. Danger is real. One thing I can say about the military, and I don't speak for the military at all. One thing I try to stop doing is making videos in uniform. Tonight was just a spare the moment thing where I didn't feel like changing. Danger is real. Seek wisdom is my answer. Seek wisdom is my answer. A lot of environments, a lot of people are waking up to the fact that the world is a dangerous place. The world is a dangerous place. There are a lot of things that transpire, a lot of things that happen that are unfortunate. Someone could argue you're in much danger in the civilian world as you are in the military, because it's the regular world, except you're coming into a fighting force. You come into a fighting force where the purpose of the military is to defend and in some cases attack. So danger is real everywhere. I'm not going to get too deep into it, but seek wisdom. Seek wisdom. A lot of your decisions should be a wise decision, meaning certain people you shouldn't hang with. There's certain red flags that you should be able to see afar off because you're seeking wisdom. You should have a mentor. You should be seeking wisdom from a mentor in your life, male or female. Again, not everyone's bad, but there are certain people that you will not know until it's too late. I'm going to leave it at that. You want to book a session, we can definitely talk offline. But yeah, there's only a certain amount of stuff, certain topics I'll get into over this platform because a lot of things are delicate. A lot of things should be addressed properly. Yeah, I'll leave it at that. What else we got? Have you ever thought about flight crew chief as a AFSC? I follow somebody on Instagram. He's a flying crew chief. I think that's the same thing. And it crossed my mind. I'm not one to rush to grab a wrench and to fix stuff. It's not my cup of tea, but because it flies, it has crossed my mind. It flies a lot. You fly with the aircraft, so it's crossed my mind. Again, it's not something I will be inclined to pursue, but it's not far away from, like, let's say the 10th spot on my job to-do list or job wish list, if you will. So it's on my radar. Xander Butler asks, why did you choose the Air Force over any other branch? I made a video on this on why I chose the Air Force over the Marines. Go check that out. But essentially, and just put it succinctly and quickly, it's the easiest branch, and I either choose easy or hard. I'm quite binary in my thinking, so I don't like to overthink things. And so if I had a choice between luxury and rustic, I'm choosing luxury. If I had to choose something between I have to ruck 12 miles or I have to sit in a chair, I'm probably going to choose the chair. And that's the decision I made. So that's probably the simple answer. Again, I made a video on why I chose the Air Force over the Marines. Go check that out. Should provide a little bit more context. What else we got? Just passed Block 4 in tech school. I'm going crazy here at Shepherd. Can't leave based on weekends because of COVID. Yo, that sucks. My brother's at Shepherd. And yeah, when I PCS to Cannon, I'll be 4 hours away from Shepherd. So I'll probably be back and forth over there. So I'll probably link up at some point. But yeah, I can only imagine being in tech school during the week and then can't leave base on weekends. That was what kept me sane, was going off base on weekends. So I definitely feel for you, but you're in the right place. You're in the right place. Seek wisdom. Study and graduate, man. Get out of there. Study and graduate. Block 4, I'm not sure how many blocks you have, but yeah, get out of there. Study and graduate. So Icy Chris says, I'm PCSing to UK in May. I'm done here at tech school April 4th. I see you. We'll be over there with the Brits. I see you. Stay out of trouble over there. Stay out of trouble over there. I'm gonna take a stab in the dark and say Chris might be, let me say, public affairs, Fort Lee, Virginia. Public affairs, probably. One thing I will do is that if I've made a video about your question, I'm gonna skip over your question. I'll touch on this briefly. Niall J asks, what can you tell us about the background check that is conducted before you go to BMT? How can we prepare for it based on what takes place? My recruiter has not informed me fully of the process. Think about what a background check means. It's historical. So if I asked you, how do I change history? You can't. You can't. The way you prepare for it is do not lie. Don't lie. Don't over answer. Don't give too much information. Like a lot of us can tell on ourselves because not all of your life is documented. So whatever part of your life that is documented is going to be researched. Your medical history, criminal history, financial history. That's pretty much it. Family history. That's pretty much it. But it's the stuff, it's the information that we tell ourselves with that gets us in trouble with investigators or, someone who's trying to do a background check on you by over answering and giving too much and talking too much and just rambling. Like somebody says, hey, good morning. And you say, well, I had a go number 2 this morning and I hit a car backing in and it's just like, that's too much information. Too much information. Learn to be slow to speak, quick to listen, practice active listening. And again, your history can't be changed. So whatever's documented is documented. It's done. It's done. So just, active listening. Hope that helps. David asks, I have bad shin pain. Can you get ice packs and BMT, and how much running and marching is there? I'm not going to say anything to anyone in the military, by the way. I'm asking because I trust you. I appreciate you saying you trust me. I appreciate that. Here's what I'll say. Injuries, medical, anything, is not going to be addressed the way you probably want it to in basic training and tech school. That's not the place for it. A lot of us who came into the military and went through tech school and basic training, a lot of us dealt with pain. I personally dealt with shin pain. The little key that they give us for our lockers that has a little metal chain around it, or chain you put around your neck to hold your key. It gave me a rash. I dealt with it. I'm not telling you to suffer, but again, consider your options. Meaning the food you eat, the amount of your protein intake. If you think about the purpose of protein, the purpose of sleep is to rebuild and to repair the body. It's to rest and to come back stronger. You build muscle while you sleep. And of course, in relation to the food you eat. So, the last thing I would do, I'm not telling you what to do. The last thing I would do is go to basic training, asking for ice packs, asking for some crutches, for a wheelchair. Address it while you have time, as far as stretching, as far as your milk. If you need more calcium, again, I'm not a doctor, so consult a doctor or a nutritionist. Do your research on YouTube. But yeah, consider your options. You have time, you have options, and use them, and just realize when I went through basic training and tech school, the first time that I actually got medical help for an issue that didn't negatively impact my training was when I was operational. My first base, Andrews. That's the first time you should be addressing anything major, which means you should be avoiding injury and get through basic training, get through tech school, get to your first base. I'll leave it at that, but read between the lines. Get to your first base. Get to your first base and then deal with all that. So, of course, survival, wisdom, maintenance, upkeep. But yeah, basic training tech school is the worst place to get injured, worst place to get hurt. It's not the place for it. Hope that helps. What else we got? Elmer's Mind Game says, our brains have been molded to make decisions by outside factors, outside our control. So free will is an illusion. Were you free to ask that question, or were you free to comment what you just commented? Did someone make you comment that? What force made you watch this live stream? It's so interesting. It's so interesting. Especially how the mind breaks down to, the narrative mind, the mind that tells you to look at the mic or talk into the mic or to do something that tells you how you feel in a given room, obviously through your senses. Then you have the involuntary mind, you have the subconscious, you have your instincts, you have your conscience. And that has its own many different factors and variables at play. But to say that your mind's being influenced and you have no control, that is itself is delusional. Because you chose to comment. And by your own logic, I would ask you, what forces molded your brain to make a decision via outside factors to comment on this live stream? What made you watch this live stream? Were you always destined to watch this live stream? Do you have the choice to turn it off right now? Do you have the choice to watch a different video? What you're pausing at is that you're just helpless and that forces around you are making you do stuff. You have no control of it. That's weird. I don't know. But yeah, there doesn't seem evidence that you are just a victim of circumstance. It seems like you're making choices. You're going to choose to eat what you want to eat. You're going to choose to watch what you want to watch. You're going to choose to respond when you want to. You're going to choose when you go to bed. You're going to choose when you wake up. You're going to choose. You're going to choose to commit crimes tomorrow or not commit crimes tomorrow. You're going to look both ways before you cross the street. You're going to choose what you want for dinner, or for lunch, or for breakfast. You're going to choose to respond to a text message. Look like choices. You also have choices. You also have the same ability to make a bad decision. Comment below which bank you're going to rob tomorrow and which forces are making you rob that bank tomorrow. I don't know. It seems like there's too much evidence that we have the ability to choose every single moment of our lives. And this moments that we forget to make that we have free will is the only variable at play, is that we forget that we're in charge, that we forget that we have options. I don't know. Karma Paintball says, hey, I've been on the right path with studying 2 years, took the test 2 times for the military, but I fell off, and I don't know why. I still really want to do it, but I felt drained. Can you give me your insight, please? I'm guessing you failed the test twice? Or at least once. It comes out to a couple things. You're failing a test. What you want is on the other side of that test. You have to get through that obstacle. I would ask you, and be honest, how many minutes are you studying for these tests per day? How many minutes? 24 times 60. Out of that number, whatever it is, how many minutes are you studying? And by studying, I mean undistracted. No texting, no YouTube, no music playing in the background, no answering phone calls, no eating food, no watching TV, no watching YouTube, no. How many minutes are you studying? The ASVAB in the most general sense is not pass or fail. It's a measurement. And by measurement, it's more of it's a qualitative measurement, not so much a quantitative measurement. It's not saying how many questions you got wrong. It's measuring your base of knowledge in relation to your study habits. Because again, I'm not the most intelligent person, but I study. You failed twice. There should be evidence that you want to join the military. Again, you have options. There's tutors out there. There's apps. There's websites. There's YouTube channels, all based around whatever you need. It exists on the internet already. There's someone out there teaching what you're struggling with. How much money are you willing to invest? How much time are you willing to invest? There's a quote. The pursuit of something determines how much you want it. The proof of desire is in the pursuit. The investment. If you study an hour a day for a month, you should have a 30-hour result. A lot of us are putting 10 minutes in here, day before the test, week before the test. We're going to try to cram. I always talk about on this channel about how you retain information. You must discover that. You must discover how you personally retain information. If you don't know the answer to that question, you have a lot of work to do, because if you're trying to join the Air Force, you have just a bunch of more tests waiting for you. The ASVAB is the first of many tests waiting for you. And if you can't pass that one obstacle, what are you going to do with the end of course test and basic training? Tech school, depending on your AFSC, you're going to have multiple block tests pretty much every week of just, here's another test. You cannot fail this test. You must study and pass this test. Get your first duty station. You're done with tech school, but they're going to hand you a stack of paper called CDCs, and they're going to test you on it in about a month per volume. You can't fail those tests. Once you finish those, you have a little break, but most likely you're going up for BTZ or senior airman below the zone. There's going to be a test. And then it's time to test for staff sergeant. And then it's time to test for tech. It's just reality. So just be mindful of that this is just the first of many obstacles that are very similar. So again, you have tutors, you have apps, you have websites, you have the internet, you have YouTube, you have all these different resources that many people before you did not have. Utilize all of them, maximize all of them. But there should be proof in your effort that you want something. I should be able to tell by your effort and predict your outcomes. That's the one thing about preparation, is that it results in peace when it comes to the actual challenge. Because when you're prepared, you have now gained confidence, which gives you peace in competition. So yeah, best of luck, man. If you need to talk offline, links in the description. We can definitely see if we can get some resources to you. What else we got? My LJ asks, where was your first duty station? And looking back now on the decision, do you think that you made a good one? My first duty station was Andrews Air Force Base. Andrews Air Force Base, Maryland, right in the heart of the DMV, about 10 miles from DC or so. Great base. I have no regrets concerning my decision to join the military. I have regrets on the contract I signed. I wish I would have signed a 4-year contract, not a 6-year. But other than that, of course, I wish I'd take my knowledge that I have now and take it back to the beginning. Can't do it. If I could do so, I would go back and change the jobs I listed on my, because I qualified for most of the jobs, but I wish I would listed different jobs knowing what I know now. But of course, you can't change that. So we move ahead and we try to control what we can control. But yeah, no regrets. I believe it was a great decision for me to join the Air Force. Great decision. What else we got? Once again, shout out to my new member. Appreciate the love, support. And certain questions I will just be skipping right over. Directly over. Josh Brown, same thing. I'm 34, no kids, no wife. I want to go active duty, but the ASVAB. Again, same thing I told the last gentleman. The ASVAB is just the first of many tests. The first of many tests. Don't get past the ASVAB and realize there's so many other tests waiting on you. Yeah. If this is the first obstacle you must pass. So by all means necessary, maximize every resource available to you. Every resource available to you. All right, how long? It's been an hour and 44 minutes. I'm going to scan through for any questions that I feel interested in answering. Yeah, this has been good. It's been good. I've enjoyed it. A couple more. Just left from Albuquerque, New Mexico. What are you listening to these days? Did Kirk Franklin's Tiny Desk concert inspire? Peace and blessings. Albuquerque, New Mexico keeps popping on my radar, mainly probably because I'm going to Mexico, that it keeps popping up everywhere. But again, appreciate you, Matt Tate. I see Kirk Franklin's Tiny Desk concert suggested to me. I have yet to watch it. I'm not really inclined to watch it. But yeah, peace and blessings to you as well and to yours. What else we got? Christopher says humanism cannot cure evil. Interesting take. The question that I would ask is, can evil be cured? And do we want it to be? Do we want evil to be cured? Because by doing so, let's say we remove evil or the possibility of evil, do we not also remove the possibility of love? They're two opposing sides. If we remove good, we remove bad. One makes the other possible. Darkness doesn't exist by itself unless light exists. And even darkness doesn't exist. Darkness is simply the absence of light. That's what we're dealing with, is evil, the absence of good. But we experience good. That's what gives evil any value, and that's what gives good its value, is that they cancel each other out more or less. I don't know. Matt Tate, I see you. I don't know who Kevin Samuels is. I have no clue who that gentleman is. Shout out the Godfather, out here making noise and causing trouble any and everywhere he goes. What else we got? Connor asks, any military specific avenues to target cutting down student loans? College took a toll on me before joining. That's a great question for a recruiter. There are definitely certain programs that you can partake in that can allow and assist with student loans. And I would imagine that a lot of people are dealing with that same issue as far as joining, but also just in general addressing student loans. Yeah, it seems to be rampant. Great question for a recruiter, but also Google it. There's a ton of programs out there that I'm not aware of. I don't have student loans, so it's not something I've ever researched. But I'm sure there are programs out there that you might be able to partake in. It may happen after you're already in. I think there's a program. I don't want to speculate, but I'm pretty sure there's programs that if you just Google student loans, military programs, military, service in relation to your student loans, definitely you should get some hits on that. Hope that helps. Karma Paintball says, something I dislike about life is how easy it is to do nothing. Tell me your thoughts. I agree. What a lot of people fail to realize is that doing nothing is a decision itself, and it has consequences. And there will be a return on investment on doing nothing. It's called regret. Regret is very tangible. It's very tangible. Living with regret, it's like living with a roommate. Like, sucks. No. Doing nothing is a result, in most cases, of not having goals. Because once you have goals established, you know what you should be doing. So now you're no longer ignorant. You're lazy, or you're undisciplined, or you're trying to negotiate the price of something. Can't be negotiated. I'm one of those people that, and again, a lot of people mistake me for being this perfect person. I am so far from it, and maybe I'm wrong in the assumption that people think I'm a certain way, but I can only respond so much to the comments as far as, I want to be like you in this way, or, I like how you do this all the time. Perception, people. My last video about deception and how a lot of us get caught up in what we see for the 2 hours, the person on the screen. But what is that person like when they're not on the screen? I talked earlier, again, taking accountability, how I've gained weight over this past year. A lot of weight. I look older. Dealing with stress. Dealing with anxiety. In some ways, depression. It's inevitable. The healthiest a person, the most fortified, resilient person will have a struggle at some point. And you will fall into moments where I don't want to do anything. I don't want to do anything. I want to lay in this bed and just sleep. I've been there. Recently, I've been there. And sometimes you have to wake up and say, all right, these two things, I know I can do those two things. The rest of it, I got to drop. Got to drop it. But these two things will help me be successful later. Maybe if I just keep these dark times reveal the unnecessary. Dark times reveal the unnecessary. A lot of times we need one of those phases where we're going through stuff and we're struggling to tell us what actually matters right now. That maybe I don't need to read 10 books today. Maybe I just need to go talk to a friend. Maybe I need to subtract all of this other stuff to just focus on this 1, 2, 3 things. What matters most, what matters now, what matters more. Just 3 things today. That's it. 3 things. I've been there. And of course, we would like to live in a world where we're not required to do anything. We can just kind of drift through life and things are handed to us and, oh, you're hungry? Here's some food. And it's free and it's already cooked and it's healthy and you don't got to cook for yourself and you don't got to plan anything. You don't got to season it and you don't got to go kill. You got to go hunt. You don't got to go buy. Everything's just brought to you. That would be an amazing world to live in. Unfortunately, reality sets in. But yeah, I can definitely relate. I share your sentiments. What else we got? He once smoked TV asks, do you deal with racism? I get treated very disrespectfully even though I'm a hard worker. I'm a red horse dirt boy. My team leaders try their best to make me feel bad every day. I can say gratefully that I have never perceived someone as being racist in my career as of yet. Nor do I look for it. It's just something that I encounter when it happens. One thing I try to approach racism very intentionally because I'm the last person to say it doesn't exist. The last person. It does exist. But in regards to my everyday life, it's not something I focus on. What I focus on is taking accountability for myself and the reasoning for why I'm here in the first place. Because racism exists in the civilian world as well. It's in the military. It's in the corporate world. It's everywhere. Someone does not like you for whatever reason. And of course, having to go to work and perceiving a certain mindset to be there, prevalent. Struggle. My advice, take accountability. Everything starts with accountability. I use this in my own life, in my own work life, my own professional career. Accountability comes first. No matter what anyone else does to me, my first response has to be one of accountability. That's what comes first. What did I do wrong? What is my responsibility in this context? How should I respond? What am I going to do next? Who's depending on me? What is my responsibility? What is my rank? Do I have any leverage? Should I use my leverage? Accountability. It starts with me. You can't control anyone else, no matter what they think. Let's say someone walks up to you and tells you directly, I do not like you because you are black. Now what? Accountability. Obviously, it probably would not, be shown any amount of appreciation, especially from our leaders in this current climate. But again, accountability. It's where I start. It's where most people should approach this topic. By no means should it be accepted, tolerated. But again, accountability. There is no Band-Aid for this. There's no Band-Aid for it. But by no means am I laying down to just say, woe is me, and to say, because I'm black, I can't get ahead. I'm just going to struggle all my life, and I'm trying my best to do this, and the man keeps pushing me down. No. If someone that looks like me has made it, I have no excuses. There's black billionaires walking this earth. There's black successful people in the military and civilian world and corporate, in entertainment and sports. So what is my excuse? It's there. Granted. Cool. Now what? So yeah, it starts with accountability. If you're being disrespected, start with accountability. It starts with me first. So it's not the answer anyone wants to hear. Nobody likes to hear the response. Somebody's mistreating you. What did you do wrong? No one likes the line of questioning. But it's imperative that we self-assess. So Hope that helps. Hope that helps. Scroll down to the bottom. Let's just pick up a couple down here and we'll call it a night. Okay. Yeah, we're done. We're done. A lot of good questions. A lot of good insights and perspectives gained. I enjoyed it. But yeah, we're in the process of processing. I spent some time last night cleaning up. Throwing out a lot of stuff. Got to take some trash out. But yeah, close of a new chapter, or old chapter rather. Moving on. Again, we're able to leave Alaska saying there's no regrets. No regrets. And we move on. We move on. Alaska was difficult. It was different. It was different. But we made the best of it. We made the best of it. And it's what I focus on. It's what I focus on. As far as there's certain circumstances that you will deal with throughout your career, throughout your life. And let me just shine light on this real quick, just because I see it. Coco Lena Bug has an issue with my response. I'm guessing in regards to the question by He Wants Smoke TV. Just to follow real quick, because I think there'll be at least one person that has an issue with my perspective on things. But the fact remains, no matter what environment you're in, someone's going to dislike you for whatever reason. And a lot of us take issue with that. A lot of us expect this world to be fair. It's not. There are people in this chat right now who are trying to get where I'm at and they can't. Is that fair? No. It's inevitable. Racism is not going anywhere. It's just not. It's not. So what do we do in the meantime? We try. We give effort. We remain accountable for our own decisions, our own reactions, and of course, we utilize the resources given to us. That's why the Air Force has an IG. Equal opportunity. There are systems in place to deal with this stuff. So for you to haul off and get emotional and start swinging your arms, and for what? For what? Anyway, it's a good live stream. Be encouraged, people. Be encouraged. A lot of you are struggling. A lot of you are trying to get somewhere. You know, a lot of us are trying to join the military, trying to get to the Air Force. Keep trying. Keep trying. But of course, be resourceful. You have more options today than anyone before you. You have more options right now available to you than anyone else that lived before you. Which means use them. Use them. I'm the last person to try to do mental math. I have a calculator. Why get it wrong? Why get it wrong? Be encouraged, people. Be encouraged. We will talk soon. I'll be in touch. But yeah, let me know if you guys have any questions. If you need to get in contact with me, links in the description. But y'all have a good night. Say what's good to your boy.